presentation, excluding the TEP from Tim presentation. This also has an interactive piece as part of the presentation as well for a few minutes. 5 minutes for the subcommittee nominations and 2 minutes each for every member in public comment. And I will be very punctual with that. We will now stay on schedule. Please give our attention to the short video.
This meeting will be conducted as a Zoom webinar to allow for public participation and comments. The Contra Costa Transportation Authority does not condone hate speech in any form. We continually strive to make life better for all members of our community and create an atmosphere where everyone feels a sense of safety and belonging. We ask that anyone who wishes to speak does so with civility, respect, and kindness for others. Public speakers will have up to 3 minutes to speak. The chair will call upon public speakers at the appropriate time. Each public speaker is requested to state their name and organization, but providing such information is voluntary. Public speakers who wish to speak in person should submit a public speaker card to the clerk. Public speakers participating by Zoom who are wishing to speak should use the raise hand feature or dial *9 if participating via phone. Written public comments received in accordance with the teleconferencing special notice on the meeting agenda will be provided to the members. If authors of any written correspondence would like to speak during the meeting, they should raise their hand or submit a public speaker card. Thank you for participating in a meeting of the Contra Costa Transportation Authority.
Thank you so much. And Jackie, if you please conduct the roll call. Thank you.
Member Byrne? Here. Member Keeshan? Member Foster? Member Lannis?
Presente.
Member Olson?
Present.
Member Price? Member Riley?
Present.
Member LeBeau? Here. Member Weeks?
Here.
Member Wilson?
Here.
Vice Chair Sarmiento?
Here.
Chair Evans?
Present.
Okay, we have all members present except for Member Foster.
Thank you so much, Jackie. I appreciate it. Is there anyone wishing to speak during the public comment and is not part of this agenda? If so, please submit a speaker card to raise your hands to virtual staff, or I will call upon you. Jackie, do we have any written or remote public comment?
No public comment received.
Thank you. That concludes our public comment item. The next item on this agenda is the regular agenda item. For the first item is an update from the TEP, Transportation Expenditure Plan, presented by Tim Hale.
One second, I'll just get the presentation up. And we should have, it's on full screen? Right. There it goes, perfect, thank you.
And Mr. Hale, we will do 5 minutes and then 2 additional minutes for the interactive perspective.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chair Evans, and committee members. Really appreciate having the opportunity to present to you. My name is Tim Hale. I'm the Executive Director of CCTA. I know some of you know me, maybe some of you don't know me, and so just a little bit of background on myself really quick. So I've been the Executive Director since 2020 at CCTA, and prior to that, I was the Deputy Executive Director at CCTA. I started here in 2017. I actually moved from Southern California to the Bay Area, so I am kind of a transplant. And prior to that, I spent 14 years on the private sector, delivering major projects and programs for clients like CCTA. And I also, before that, I worked at Caltrans for 6 years in downtown LA. By practice, I'm a civil engineer. I'm all about building things, but also, fun fact, also love bikes. I know some of you know this, but I do ride my bike to work every single day. My bike's actually in the office. I actually frequent the canal trail, so if you ever see me on the canal trail, that's where I'm at. I live about 4.5 miles away in Pleasant Hill, so not a bad ride. About 20, 25 minutes, depending on the day. Today were some pretty crazy headwinds. I do not ride an e-bike, so good old traditional bike. But what today is really marks a really important day. We are getting ready to kick off the development of a future transportation expenditure plan that's going to guide investment of transportation dollars and funding for the next 20, 25, 30 years. And that'll be part of the process as we kind of do this listening, is really determine what that expenditure plan is actually going to look like. The process is really kind of broken down into 4 kind of key phases. The first phase is the phase we're in today, which is listening. And the listening phase is really intended to get input from everybody, from the public, from our local agencies like the cities, the RTPCs, our transit agencies, and also from our stakeholders, so advocate groups like Bike East Bay, et cetera, business leaders, labor, the public, and then the board itself. And you all are an advisory committee to the authority board, and you're acting in terms of that role as an advisory committee to the authority board, and we're doing listening with all of our advisory committees across the entire agency. And so an important part what we want to do is hear directly from you, because you have a very special interest in this area, and we want to get your input and insights in terms of what type of input you would like to put into the expenditure plan process. And so what's going to really kind of shape this work is the countywide transportation plan. So the CTP was really been a 2-year effort that really helped guide future investment, future planning into the county. That CTP has now, it's a fiscally unconstrained plan, has about $12 billion of projects identified in Contra Costa County, about 1,200 projects. And we did an extensive outreach with the public as well as our stakeholders as we were developing the countywide transportation plan. I know we've given you presentations in the past about the CTP. These are the 4 main principles: safety, accessibility, connectivity, and sustainability. And these are really kind of the 4 key areas that we're kind of focused on. We have also, you may remember from the CTP, there were these transformative visions, and those transformative visions are really going to act as like kind of guiding values or blocks or categories, investment categories in the transportation expenditure plan. And you may recall one of those was safer streets, which is a big component of this advisory committee. The second one is really focused on reliable transit. And the third one is focused on reliable freeways. So essentially local investment in people first streets, investment in our transit system and transit infrastructure, and then investment into our highway system. Those were kind of the 3 main categories. So as you all know, Measure J was actually kicked off in 2008. Just a little bit of background here. It was passed by the voters by 72% in 2004. It was an extension of Measure C, and within Measure J was roughly at that time in 2004 dollars was a $2 billion investment into the overall infrastructure as well as programs in Contra Costa County in 2004. That measure was successful. It's been like our Bible guiding light over the last 20, 25 years. And now what we're doing is we're kind of looking at what has Measure J funded, what have been really, really great example projects and things we want to continue to do, but also kind of looking back and looking forward, what are going to be those future investments? What are they going to be? We really are going to be focused on really 5 pillars as we think about this next transportation expenditure plan. And one of those pillars is going to be community first, right? We really want to lean in on the public, listen to the public, and really respond to the needs of the public and the communities that we serve. The second pillar is going to be really keep it simple, right? One thing that the Measure J transportation expenditure plan was, it's very complicated. It's very hard to follow. And so even within staff, to be able to implement and to actually allocate the funds, there's a lot of different components, a lot of different recipients. And so we want to try to simplify that process, mainly from a sustainability or a transparency component. You know, made it where the public is able to follow where their dollars go in the community. The third one is really focused on countywide lens, understanding that we have a very diverse geographic county. We've got subregions, west, central, south, and east, that all are very much different. We want to be able to continue to respect that, but also think about how we can balance those local needs, the sub-regional needs, and the countywide needs throughout the entire county. There is a limited amount of funding, and so we need to really select really high-performing key priority projects that are going to serve the community well. The fourth pillar is really focused on accountability. Understanding that there's a lot of concerns around increase in taxes. The good news is this is not an increase, this is an extension, right? So everyone's already paying for it. We don't plan to go for any additional half-cent sales tax or anything like that with this future measure. It is primarily going to be an extension of Measure J. And Measure J expires in 2034. I know that seems a long ways away, but it's really not. And so we literally have 2 presidential elections to really consider this with the voters. And so we want to start now, we want to start early, so that way we can better understand how this expenditure plan can really, again, serve the community needs. And then that 5th pillar is really focused on performance. And this has really been something focused on Measure J for a long time, is really making sure we're funding projects and programs that are very high performing. Making sure we're continued to leverage. In Measure J, we delivered $5.6 billion worth of projects, and we were able to leverage those local funds at 3-to-1. Specifically for bike infrastructure, Measure J, there was specifically about $80 million dedicated to bike infrastructure in the Measure J expenditure plan, and we've been able to take that $80 million and leverage it to be able to deliver up to $400 million of bike investment in Contra Costa County, primarily through the OBAG cycles, which you're going to hear more about the next agenda item for the OBAG 4. So this has been a tremendous amount of success. And as we think about those investments, we've done really key trail improvements, bike infrastructure improvements, gap closure improvements, and these are the types of improvements that we want to continue to invest in Contra Costa County. One thing I know of importance is really connectivity and access to trails. I know that's a big priority that we continue to hear from folks. For example, for me, I usually take the canal trail here from my house. And I would love to have a more dedicated bike lane from the canal trail all the way down to downtown Pleasant Hill, right? So I can take my family safely to downtown Pleasant Hill to go to Cold Stone and go to the brewery and go hang out in downtown. So better access to downtown areas to the trails is a really important thing that we're really thinking about to be able to continue on the success of Measure J. So to start the listening, we have orchestrated what we call a Mentimeter survey. And so there's going to be, I'm going to swap screens here for a minute, and we're going to ask you basically 4 kind of key questions that you can answer on your device. So I'm going to ask you all to get your devices out. It can be a phone, it can be a laptop, it can be an iPad, whatever you would like. And then I'm going to switch screens, and so that way we're all prepared and ready to go.
And just a note, Director Tim Hale, we do have 4 more minutes for this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone not have a phone and need assistance? Does anyone need assistance with just how to use the QR code?
Okay, so we'll be able to see the results in real time here. So what is the one-way travel could be improved today in your city or town? So what is one thing or one way that travel could be improved today by your city or town? And so you're going to click on that QR code, should be able to take you to the question, and you'll be able to answer this question. We'll be able to see the results in real time. And all of these responses are completely anonymous.
There's also QR codes in front of you if the screen is an issue at all.
So key answer for all of us, better safety for biking and walking for seniors. enforcement of speed limits, which I think really aligns well with Vision Zero goals. Connectivity with different cities. I think recognizing that folks don't just travel within cities, but across different cities. Complete safety networks. I know with the countywide bicycle pedestrian safety plan, we've identified a low-stress bicycle network and continued investment in that network to get everyone to use bike both recreationally and also for work. Access to dual lanes. I know that's a big priority for Iron Horse Trail. I know there's a lot of interest there in terms of having a separate bike expressway to be able to separate more of the commuter traffic from the recreation traffic. All ages and abilities, 100% agree with that. Making sure it's friendly to all users. Complete the Bay Trail. I know we're actually working on a Safe Streets for All projects right now for a Bay Trail gap closure project over in Martinez. Protected bike lanes or separated bike lanes, obviously very key, which is tough. Those are some tough decisions. In some cases, it may require road diets. Local mobility to nearby destinations. So we have 10 to 12 respondents. There's a few more. If you could respond. I'm sorry, Chair, I may go over a little bit of time. All right, we'll move on to the next slide. So this one is, you get to choose two. What are your most significant transportation challenges? Choose two. And this is not just related to bicycles and pedestrian walking and biking. This is related to all issues that we're hearing in the county. Traffic congestion, conditions of roads, which is pavement, limited public transit options, pedestrian and bicycle safety, seniors and accessible transportation, parking availability, transportation affordability. So this is more focused on more of our low-income communities, and also school and student transportation. And as the Pedestrian Bicycle Advisory Committee, there's no doubt in my mind you would all vote on pedestrian and bicycle safety. Not surprised. I would hope so. You belong on this committee if you're not voting on that one, right? All right, 9 out of 12, 10 out of 12. All right, fantastic. Let's move on to the next slide. So a good compromise there between limited public transit and pedestrian and bicycle safety. This one is really focused on just transit, not roadway infrastructure. This is really focused on what is the first word that comes to mind when you think of our county's current transit system and transit infrastructure. So transit infrastructure could be anything related to BART stations, bus stops, access, those types of things. And the transit system itself is obviously anything related to the operations, the connectivity, knowing that we have multiple transit operators here in our county. For a frame of mind, we have obviously BART. We also have three small bus operators, County Connection, Westcat, and Tri-Delta, one large bus operator, AC Transit. We also have 3 rail operators, BART, San Joaquin, Capital Corridor, and then we also have our ferry service, San Francisco Bay Ferry in Richmond. So we have a lot of transit operations and systems and operations here in Contra Costa County. And we really want to ask this question to kind of better understand how can we think about how do we improve the system, right, into the future. So large headways for buses, meaning it sounds like people want more frequency. It's limited, under-resourced. So I think obviously we have the big transit fiscal cliff question is in mind, and Connected Bay Area goes to the voters in November. Accessibility, unreliability, dispersed, insufficient. So we have 10 out of 12 there. All right, well, thank you for your responses on that one. This is the last slide. What are your top 2 challenges in accessing destinations in other areas of the county or outside the county? So this is talking about travel, not just within your local jurisdictions, but moving around in the county, and even regional transportation, right, outside of the county. So to get to San Francisco, to get to wherever, Oakland or wherever you want to go. And so what are the top 2 challenges for you to be able to move around within the county? Like I know Bruce, his would be the bike lane on Highway 4. That would be his challenge. I know that for a fact. Wait for a few more to come in, but limited public transportation routes, obviously limited transit throughout the county, long travel times or traffic congestion, insufficient transportation options for seniors or people with disabilities, and really, obviously, safety related to walking and biking is going to be a big one for this committee. Feeling safe on transit and access to trails. Oh, we have one more. So this is the last one. My apologies. You get to hear me talk for a few more minutes. Sorry, Chair Evans. What are your top ideas for how to make transportation better in the future? This is a word cloud, or is it just a short answer? So this is a short answer, so just provide your feedback here.
Should be able to provide more than one.
Yeah, and you can submit more than one response. So we have free transit. Enforcement cameras and reduced speed limits. Vision Zero goals. I love it. Culture shift to all transportation options, moving people to other modes. Cultural education, training. Travel training, I think, is really key. Also investing in the younger rider, right? Trying to train the younger generation to use different modes. I think there's a lot of appetite for that. At least I see it in my own kids. More discounts, free transit days for seniors. I think we're really excited about programs like Bay Pass as well as Clipper 2.0 to be able to do these more account-based transit discounts for specific folks. Land use planning that encourages a walkable, bikeable community. So really focus on the people first streets and better connections to land use and transportation. Highest investment should go to public transit and complete safe in all ages and abilities bike walk networks that connect people to school, parks, businesses, and transit. So connectivity. I think this is really key, really making sure we're building the infrastructure around where we know people are going and how to get people there safer. And I think access to trails is a really good example of that. Robust transit as a viable alternative to driving. Expand the low-stress bicycle network. More enforcement and security on our trails and public transit. I think I need to scroll down a little bit. Bike parades to school in the morning. So and that actually is really aligned well with our walk and roll program. Everyone should be familiar with the walk and roll program on this committee. Discourage increased automobile sizes, transit-oriented development, which goes a long ways with our shared mobility hub concept, and then indoctrinating youth to non-motorized transportation in a safe way, right? Because the e-bike thing is getting kind of crazy out there. So thank you for your feedback on this. I'm going to move back now. I have one last slide, Chair Evans, and then I'll be done. Just stop share here. Back. Did it go? It did. Nope. There it goes. Okay, so this is my last slide. So in front of you should be a postcard. And we have lots of postcards, and we are welcome to give you stacks of these postcards. Because you are a member of this advisory committee, we are now kind of appointing you or anointing you as an ambassador of CCTA to be able to go out into your community and get input from the community about what you think, what's going well, what are your pain points, and what kinds of improvements do you want to see. And this is not about the transportation expenditure plan. We're not trying to raise awareness to the measure or to the transportation expenditure plan. This is really just going out in the community and doing listening and really focusing on, again, what are your pain points? What are your challenges? Getting more information, because that's what's going to help us develop an expenditure plan that's actually going to help respond to their needs. And so on that postcard, there's a QR code, and this is what the QR code actually looks like. And it takes you to a dedicated web page where all of you can actually, in a more intimate environment, can provide all the feedback you want to provide into the process. So you can provide written feedback, you can provide recorded feedback, whether it be just through a voice memo or through a Zoom or video meeting. So there's several different ways that we're able to provide people to get feedback. And we want it all. Any feedback that you can provide, whether it's some today, some the next day, or some a month from now, it's going to be important for all of you to get onto that website and provide your direct feedback into this process, because we don't have a lot of time today to have discussion. And so this is our opportunity for you to get access and provide input directly into the process. And again, I would really appreciate if you can take this listening out into the community, talking with your friends, talking with your people that you work with, that you hang out with, or you ride with. This is going to be important for us to get continued feedback throughout the entire process over the next 6 to 8 weeks. So please hand out these postcards, hand out this QR code. Lindy back here, our Director of External Affairs, she's more than welcome to give you 100 of these postcards if you would like some, to pass them out. Again, you are all ambassadors, and that's how we're going to be successful, is all of us working together. CCTA cannot do this alone. We cannot do this by ourselves. It's going to take a village. It's going to take a coalition to be able to really bring all the many voices together to be successful in developing a transportation expenditure plan that's going to respond to the community's needs. With that, I will pause there, take any questions or any comments.
Thank you.
And I'll hand it back over to the chair.
Thank you so much, Tim. I appreciate you staying on time. Are there any comments from the committee members? Please note that there are only 2 minutes. We are on a strict schedule. Thank you. Please press your, yes.
Press the button. Okay. So just wondering, so you want to get a lot of feedback from the community so we can hand these out to just whoever in our community. So what's the deadline for getting responses on all this?
Yeah, so our listening phase goes all the way through the summer,
All through the summer?
the entire summer.
Oh, okay.
And we have lots of time. Yeah, and we did that on purpose. We want to make sure that we're prioritizing this. We want to make sure that this is taken very seriously, and we have ample time for everyone to get in their communities and talk to whoever they need to talk to, whether it be board members, stakeholders, our advisory committees, and even the public itself. So we have through the entire summer.
Thank you. Do we have any more member comments? Please, Ms. Foster. Thank you.
Hi, I just wonder if there's any way to have youth representation in these kind of meetings. I think that's what's really missing here.
In all of the advisory committees, or when you say
Yeah.
these meetings, you're saying these specific meetings here?
Yes.
Okay.
I
Well,
know
we
it's, I know it's a schedule challenge, but if we can get youth to participate more, I think that may help turn the needle.
Yeah, so youth is a targeted audience for our listening phase, 100%. I mean, we really want to talk to the youth and talk to the future generations of who's going to be using this transportation system, specifically because it's a system, a expenditure plan that's going to be a 25, 30-year, horizon. And so Lindy and I have been talking a lot about this in terms of how we actually get into the community relative to schools, and talking with parents, talking with families, talking with students, whether that be school boards, school districts, or specific like PTAs, right? So we really want to get direct feedback from all students as we kind of go through this process.
Well, I'm meaning to say is like youth representation in the boards or any of the boards concerning transportation.
Okay,
If
so you're
that's a
saying like
possibility.
representation within the committees themselves. Okay, yeah, we can take that back. Oh, so Matt just told me we have a bylaws update that addresses that. What's the bylaw update?
I think Member Foster, just please note that for youth representation in county meetings, or whatever county you're in, that's a different type of meeting. They mostly in bylaws in the Brown Act and Sunshine Ordinance. That prevents them from coming in meetings as such like this. They can come in and listen. However, that's up to each member in your community to invite. As far as their side of it, they would not be able to do that. So just keep that in mind, as well as you're in your community, as well as you're more than welcome to invite you to entertain our meetings right now. But as far as them actually having their own separate thought process in this process, that takes a separate meeting. Just, and Alameda County goes through the same thing. That's just FYI. Thank you. Do we have any other member comments?
I just
Yes,
want to add
please.
to that. I am technically the Youth and E-Mobility Devices representative. That's the seat that I occupy in this. But I concur with you that more youth, actual youth representation all across the board would be welcome.
Thank you so much. Taking note. And
One more, I should have followed up earlier. So the
And again, we're happy to coordinate with you on how to do that. So newsletters are great.
thank you so much for your comments.
Thank you for your presentation. Just going along Steve's question, is there a social media package that you can provide to us, aside from the website and the QR code?
Lindy?
Nominate a leader from their school to represent in a subcommittee, and that could accomplish two things. It would definitely give the feedback, but it also maybe serve as a potential tipping point, where you can get leadership.
As many as they'd like.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and just, the other thing I want to maybe emphasize is that we're in the listening phase, right? We're not necessarily like, I'll say, like in the engagement phase. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. I think there's a difference, right? Like, this is very much like we're trying to listen to folks, and through that listening, that's how we just listening.
So much for this presentation. I really wish I had more time for the 7.
Let me click share here and share my screen. So good afternoon, technical coordinating committee members. Thank you, Chair Evans. My name is Matt Kelly. I'm the Director of Planning here at CCTA. We are here to talk about what is the OBAG 4, what is the OBAG 4 and TLC PBTF Cycle 3 coordinated call for project. That is done by investing local and regional funds into the community to improve connectivity, equity, and sustainability. This OBAG 4 cycle incorporates new policies at the regional level, like the transit-oriented communities policy and transit priority policies. The OBAG funds and what we're calling the county share or the county program are federal funds that come to us from MTC and that are administered by CCTA through this call for projects. We take money off the top, or there's a certain amount of money off the top that goes for our base planning efforts. That's pretty much our annual budget for doing planning, programming, and other activities. So that's a 4-year budget that we utilize for staff time and other expenditures. We have been allocated, or we have a target allocation of $43.4 million through the OBAG program, OBAG 4 program for Contra Costa County. We submit 120% of that, so a list of projects totaling $52.1 million, just in case other counties fall short of their target. There is a possibility we could receive up to 120% of our target. As I mentioned, this requires a call for projects, which we are coordinating with some of our Measure J programs to get even more money out in the community. These federal funds require a local match of 11.47%. All project sponsors must meet OBAG compliance requirements, which I'll get into in a minute. And 80% of projects that are funded must be within a mile radius of those transit-oriented communities or the other growth geographies identified in Plan Bay Area, which are priority development areas. And I'll show you a map of that in a minute. And all project submittals through the county share are due at the end of October. And just so the goal, because these are federal funds, The goal will be for CCTA to take on as much federal funds as possible with our countywide programs and make sure that the more flexible local funds through Measure J are directed towards the local jurisdictions as they are easier for those, for the local jurisdictions to administer. Federal funds are very difficult to administer. So now talking a little about those Measure J programs. So 5% of Measure J goes to Program 12. That is the Contra Costa Transportation for Livable Communities. These funds are generally focused on projects that encourage use of alternatives to the single occupant vehicle. There's a list of types of projects that generally fit that category. And really one of the initial goals of TLC was to get places like we have across the street, transit-oriented developments, as they used to be called, ready kind of with the infrastructure they need for developers to come in and then develop out these locations. So providing access for bikes, pedestrians, and transit to these really important geographies like we have across the street. And TLC has really invested a lot of money over the years into our transit locations. And then Measure J Program 13, I will note that West County does get an additional amount of TLC funding, and then that they get to administer themselves. And then the Pedestrian, Bicycle, and Trail Facilities, PBTF, 1.5% of the measure goes to that. Out of that, 0.5% of that 1% of the measure goes to the competitive program. 0.5% of the measure goes to the East Bay Regional Parks District. So basically they allocate their share of that through the RTPCs. So they get to fund one project per subregion annually, or in one subregion annually, and they go to the RTPCs to allocate that or to program that funding. West County also gets an additional share of PBTF. It's a small amount, about $280,000 that they get to administer themselves. So this coordinated call for projects is also, there's a couple other source of funding out there right now that we're going to incorporate into this coordinated call. That includes MTC's CARE program, Community Action and Resource Empowerment. I always forget that acronym. There's $3.1 million available for Contra Costa, and that is generally focused on implementation of community-based transportation plans or projects that are named in those plans. And we are completing our CBTP update right now, so we have a long list of projects from those plans that could be funded. And then the Air District has made Transportation for Clean Air, or Transportation Fund for Clean Air, TFCA, additional bikeway funding available. This is a new fund source that's coming through CCTA, so there's about $3.3 million available for that. It can fund bikeways, bike lanes, paths, trails, also can support bike parking. Projects receiving funding from this will need to go through the TFCA's cost effectiveness calculation. So projects that come in that kind of meet this program eligibility will get run through that cost effectiveness calculator. So how we are proposing to run this coordinated call for projects is that project sponsors would submit a single application for their projects regardless of the source of funding, but that they could receive funding from any one of those sources listed below. But there would be, so the TCC is the Technical Coordinating Committee, which meets monthly here. They're an advisory committee, like you guys are. They are kind of overseeing the development of the coordinated call for projects. They will also be reviewing the applications once they come in and kind of directing them towards the appropriate fund source. So once projects come in and it's decided this application, should go towards the OBAG county share, this should go towards TLC. Once we have, all the projects identified for PBTF, those will come to this group. So that's that fourth bullet, except program 26, which goes through WCTAC. So this group will receive those applications, will be responsible for finalizing the criteria and the scoring and weights, and then will be also responsible for the actual scoring and prioritizing that list. As I mentioned earlier, the East Bay Parks share of PBTF is programmed through the RTPCs. And I mentioned the TFCA, cost effectiveness. Let's see, anything else I need to mention there? So as I mentioned, all the OBAG 4 funding is due to MTC in October. However, the PBTF that you guys will be responsible for doesn't share that same deadline, so we will have a slightly extended deadline for programming the PBTF funds that will probably go through about November, December, as you guys meet in, this committee meets in November, and that's kind of when we have identified you guys approving your final list. So Colin is going to talk about the criteria in a little more detail, but really we're building on past PBTF and TLC criteria and incorporating new OBAG 4 requirements from our OBAG 3 criteria that we developed in 2022. As I mentioned, all projects must meet OBAG 4 eligibility requirements, and that the OBAG 4 program, those county share funds, continue to fund countywide projects. And last time around in 2022, we funded, this is with the OBAG 4 county share, not TLC or PBTF. Those funds, a lot of them went towards our countywide smart signals project, which is focused on improving signals around the county. We funded about 320 of them through phase 1. We want to expand that in phase 2 and make our countywide system of signals as smart as possible, able to identify not just automobiles, but pedestrians, bicycles, and transit, and be able to provide priority for those non-vehicular modes. Also, we are hopeful to continue the funding Safe Routes to Schools through the countywide program, and TDM, as well as our student transportation program. We are hopeful we can update our EV blueprint through the county share and provide a pot of funding for transit system improvements, really maintaining a state of good repair for our transit providers. And then we do plan on having a pot of money under the OBAG county program for active transportation and safety, our active transportation and safety program, ATS, and that would be a competitive program for bike and ped improvements under the OBAG 4 program, in addition to the TLC and PBTF, which is primarily for active transportation. So we really hope to fund, as much active transportation through the variety of programs, funding programs available through this call for projects. I'm going to skip through this stuff pretty quickly because this is mostly what our local jurisdictions have to deal with, the project sponsors have to deal with. They have to be eligible for MTC's criteria, which is mostly about being consistent with some MTC policies related to housing, safety planning, pavement management, and general performance monitoring. So we are working directly with our project sponsors to make sure they are up to date with MTC's requirements. So this isn't really too much of a concern for this group. We will make sure that the 6 jurisdictions who were out of compliance as of March are back into compliance. MTC has told us that it should not be a problem to get the 6 back into compliance, so we will be doing that over the next couple of months.
And I apologize, Mr. Kelly, we do have a few more minutes.
Okay.
We do have 4 other items on this agenda.
Thank you. I'll move through as fast as I can. I think I'm gonna, so here's that map that focuses on where 80% of the projects must be sited within those red boundaries. So it's pretty good coverage over the county, but there are some areas like around Clayton and Alamo and kind of far East County, which don't fit nicely into those areas, but 20% of the projects may fall in those locations. And now I'm going to turn it over to Colin so he can walk through the program eligibility, and Colin, let's focus mainly on the PBTF.
Sure.
I would say.
Sounds good. So these following slides are including some of the scoring criteria, and yes, the focus for CBPAC is PBTF. Matt and I will be at the TCC this Thursday, May 21st. So you're welcome to review the larger program policy draft document to provide input on that through that process. But in terms of what's summarized from that document, this slide shows the information sharing and data sharing piece in terms of GIS, so that we can work with local agency partners to, communicate where the grant awards are, for example. And then in terms of the number of applicants and applications, it's anticipated to be somewhat similar to OBAG Cycle 3 in 2022, and about a $500,000 minimum grant size from an OBAG perspective. However, for PBTF and TLC, the proposed minimum is either 150 or 250. So open to input on that. The intent is to be inclusive of things like quick build method and materials. Next slide shows the LRSP, the Local Road Safety Plan update requirement from MTC as part of OBAG, but also as part of the CTA Coordinated Call for Projects program policy for PBTF and TLC is to have a current local road safety plan within 5 years that also addresses equity and safe systems approach, and ideally has a project list that's provided as part of it. The micromobility policies piece is carried over from OBAG Cycle 3, and so the idea is to streamline it across all the different funding programs to make it easier on applicants for this Cycle 3 of PBTF. Next slide shows some of the beginning of the quantified scoring criteria, and the subcommittee of the CBPAC, the Vision Zero Working Group, did ask that the percentage toward Vision Zero, eliminating fatal and severe injuries, be increased. And so there's draft numbers being considered that could increase from OBAG Cycle 3 being 16% to maybe more than 20 or more than 25% as part of OBAG Cycle 4 and PBTF Cycle 3. And then encouraging jurisdictions that have proposals along high injury networks and also are, identified in the different countywide safety action plan, for example, and taken straight from the Vision Zero Toolbox, which was first adopted by CCTA's board in September of 21 and is on the website. Public health outcomes, prioritizing public space. Next slide. Public engagement, community outreach and policy support, alignment with regional policy. Next slide. And then some of the criteria for scoring that's straight out of the countywide bike and ped plan, from this committee is the improving connectivity, range and number of users, latent demand, and increasing or sustaining transit ridership, as also scoring across each of these programs, including PBTF. The next slide shows the first scoring criteria as project cost. Matt, sorry, next slide. So this carries over from OBAG Cycle 3 in terms of encouraging local agencies to exceed the minimum 11.47% federal local match. And so there's encouragement through the scoring that's been built in as part of PBTF scoring as well for Cycle 3. Safe system approach for bundled projects and multi-agency, multi-jurisdiction bundled projects are encouraged through the scoring process. Grant deliverability, sponsor readiness, and implementation feasibility for each grant proposal is proposed for PBTF Cycle 3 as well. And then back over to Matt for schedule.
Thanks, Colin. So just a schedule starting with where we're at today. So meet with CBPAC to discuss call for projects. Next comes, there's a lot of meetings in between now and June. We'll be going to the RTPCs. We're going back to TCC. And as Colin noted, this Thursday, we actually have a updated document that we're presenting to them. So we would point you towards that to see where things have kind of been more refined through our conversations over the last month. Let's see, where did I leave off? Okay, so we will be going, asking our board next month to approve the release of the call for projects. Scoring will go on through the fall of applications received once they come in August. We will be asking for this group's concurrence on the list of PBTF projects in the fall. As I said, that might be as late as November. And then October is when everything is due to MTC for OBAG, but for PBTF, that will be approved by our board in winter. So our next steps today are to take your feedback on what we just shared with you. But I think the really important part is to get a subcommittee established of this committee to actually finalize the scoring criteria that Colin discussed for the PBTF program and to score the actual applications. Today we're looking for feedback as well as nominations for 4 people at maximum to sit on that subcommittee, and we would like one representative from each part of the county if possible, and at least one member of the public, so one of our kind of non-staff representatives. So that's my presentation today. Colin and I can take any of your questions.
Thank you so much, Matt. Now we will move to the committee members. Any members for a comment?
Thanks, Matt. This sounds like a daunting process to put all these funding sources together in the same call. I just had one clarifying question. So you're going to be getting like a big pool of, just to put it in like layman's terms, you're getting a big pool of project, and then CCTA staff will determine which funding source is best matched for it, and then send it to the, correct oversight body for it?
We're going to do some initial screening among staff, but really it'll be the TCC's subcommittee that will ultimately do the kind of final screening and directing applications towards the different programs.
Thank you so much, member. Any other members with a comment? Please.
Pardon if I missed this, but what's the purpose of the bundling? One of the questions, and the other one is, are we getting as much or more for active transportation as a result of the bundling?
Sorry, the bundling?
Doing this exercise of.
Doing the coordinated call.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't, I would say, affect the amount of funding. I think the funding pots, which I didn't get into real quick, I don't have slides on those, but our TCC packet does have more information on the amounts available for each, because it's divided by sub-region. So really we have formulas for developing the amount of funds available for each program. So like, TLC is 5% of the measure, so we take 5% of our revenues over the 5 fiscal years. And then we have a formula for allocating that to the sub-regions, so we know that amount. The coordinated call didn't change the amount of funding available out there, but it did it is going to make it all kind of available through one process, whereas if we didn't bundle it or coordinate it, it would, each project sponsor would have to submit a separate application to each program, which would then have, a separate process. So we hope we're making it easier ultimately for the project sponsor and less resources required for them.
Thank you. Any other member comments? Moving to our public speakers. Do we have any virtual hands raised for the speakers? Jackie?
No public comment.
Thank you, Jackie. Do we have a nomination for the subcommittee? It's moving on to our subcommittees. And Matt, you do need 4. So I will nominate myself.
I just had a clarifying question. So you're looking for representatives, one from each sub-region. So that's me and Steve for West County. Danny also is a resident of West County, but doesn't represent the sub-region. Would that still count if Danny was interested as a representative from West County?
We have a few countywide folks, and I'm willing to plug them in wherever we have a gap.
I'm happy to step aside if the other 2 West County people are interested in serving. But I'm also happy to serve if you all don't want to.
Yeah, just to clear, I would love to serve, but I don't have capacity right now. Thank you.
I guess that means it's you and I, Corey. So, yeah.
Would you like to do it?
Yeah, who else is from West County that, yeah, no, I'm okay.
Yeah, I guess going by region, who here is with TransPAC? I'm in TransPAC. Okay. I'll take it.
Okay, so just to be clear, so for the record and for Jackie, just go ahead and state your name and where you're going to represent. And we do need just 4.
So yeah, Brianna Byrne with TransPAC.
Steve Price with El Cerrito Richmond Annex Walk and Roll in El Cerrito.
I just have a question. I guess as a county staff, I could pretty much fit in anywhere. So, but I'll defer and we'll see who we fill out the rest of the nominations first. So.
Well, I think I'm the only SWAT person here, I think, other than, So I'd like to volunteer, and Chris Weeks from SWAT.
So it looks like you have your 4, the max was 4, am I correct, Matt?
I only heard 3. Did we have 4?
Chair Evans, you were also volunteering
Oh,
yourself,
Chair,
correct?
Yes.
sorry, forgot about you, Chair. That would be 4. Thank
No,
you,
no
and we have
problem.
our public member requirement, so,
Matt, the East County.
oh. Let's see, I guess, Chair Evans, what, your
And this is Arenda.
representation on this committee is, sorry? You are the
Right.
public member, so you were countywide, so yes, we could plug you into that
Okay.
East County
Okay, thank,
spot, yeah.
okay, Jackie, it looks like we do have, we just need a motion and a second.
I'll move to approve the nominations.
I'll second. Member Riley?
Thank you, we do have a motion and a second, and Jackie, please conduct the roll call.
Member Byrne?
Yes.
Member Keeshan? Member Foster? Member Lannis?
Yes.
Member Olson?
Yes.
Member Price?
Yes.
Member Riley?
Yes.
Member LeBeau?
Yes.
Member Weeks?
Yes.
Member Wilson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Sarmiento?
Yes.
Chair Evans?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously with Member Keeshan absent.
Thank you so much, Matt, and we look forward to it. Moving to our next item, and this is item 3C, amendment of the authority's countywide Vision Zero safety policy plan, and this is given by Colin. And Colin, would 15 minutes be subjective to your presentation?
Yes, we'll stick to the time as much as we can.
Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Appreciate that. So Colin Clark with CCTA, just giving an update on the amendment of the authority's safety policy and implementation guide and the countywide safety action plan, in particular to address eligibility for SS4A, Safe Streets and Roads for All, for FY26. Federal program requirements. And so this item is going to the board this Wednesday due to the, not a lot of time to address eligibility before the application submittal date of, I believe, this Friday, the 22nd. Before you today is the amendment included in the packet with the narrative language for action in terms of concurrence with the board action anticipated for this Wednesday evening at 6 o'clock. So a little bit of background. So the Countywide Vision Zero policy and implementation guide was first adopted in September of 21. The resolution has been revised. This would be the third time since then. There's been a number of Safe Streets and Roads for All federal grants awarded countywide and benefiting our local agency partners in these different fiscal years shown, 22, 24, and 25. And so in 25, It's a planning and demonstration grant that's meant to address connected vehicles, for example, but also in terms of this narrative in front of you today, it's addressing emergency vehicles as it relates to connected vehicles and autonomous vehicles. And so as part of the FY25 award, it's going to amend the plan through that grant process. And then the intent from CCTA is to propose a grant application for implementation in FY26 of the FY25 planning demonstration scope. So getting into this next slide is the amendments that are included in the narrative addressing work zone safety, like construction work zones, for example, approaching speeds, connected vehicle communication, post-crash care, and real-time coordination across dispatch, traffic operations, and field response, for example, and the digital infrastructure that ties those operations together. So the staff recommendation to this committee is to seek comments and concurrence to finalize the authority's adoption anticipated this Wednesday evening for the proposed updates to the Vision Zero action plan to address emergency response and SS4A implementation grant eligibility for FY26. Happy to receive comments and questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Colin. That was quick. You did great. Thank you. Okay, we will now move to member comments. No member comments? Okay, Jackie.
I have one, actually.
Okay.
Just want to make sure, Colin, I think that we're going to be applying for a grant with CCTA for some of this similar activity. I see Ray in the audience. I don't know. Nod your head, yes or no. Does that sound like it's going to happen? Or you could come up. No, it's okay. Sorry to waste time. Yeah, thank you, Ray, for talking about it. Just briefly. Great. Yeah, just that, I just want to make sure, this is making us concurrent with what is in CCTA's plans so that they can move forward with the safety zone stuff that we're working on, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. I just want to make sure that that's right.
Okay. Short answer, okay, yes.
Okay, that's all I wanted to make sure, that as long as it allows us to move forward with applying together with our fire district and police and other things.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not only like, for San Ramon. I know we reach out to San Ramon.
Right.
But it's also countywide because the Con Fire also, they're on board with this. Yeah.
Great.
So we identified, I'm sorry, I'm giving more information. So we identified several corridors in the county. One of them like in San Ramon. We have like in East County. We have in Iwana Creek, where the trauma center and hospitals. So this will expedite the providing the services to the victim, and from taking the victim to the trauma center. So we appreciate, like in San Ramon, they always like being on board with the CCTA, applying for in these innovative ideas and implementing the connected emergency vehicle to the whether like to the traffic signal and also to connected vehicles. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ray. And I think that there's a piece related to kind of developing a protocol in the future for autonomous vehicles so that they could be informed that there is an accident up ahead. So I don't think this is just busy work. I think it's definitely important that it be added, and I recommend that we move forward with supporting this amendment as a committee. Thanks, Ray.
Thank you.
Thank you, member, and I do agree with you. Thank you. Are there any more member comments? Okay, now, Jackie, we will move to the public speakers. Do we have any virtual hands or speaker cards?
No written public comment or virtual hands.
No remote? Okay. We just need a motion.
Well, I guess I started it out, so I move that we show concurrence with this change to the to CCTA's SS4A implementation process.
And I will second it. We do have a first and a second. And Jackie, if you want to conduct the roll call, please.
Member Byrne?
Aye.
Member Keeshan? Aye. Member Foster? Aye. Member Lannis?
Aye.
Member Olson?
Aye.
Member Price? Aye. Member Riley?
Aye.
Member LeBeau?
Aye.
Member Weeks?
Yes.
Member Wilson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Sarmiento?
Yes.
Chair Evans?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you so much, Colin, for the presentation of the amendment. Moving to our next item on the agenda, which is item 3D, the review and recommend approval of the draft updates of the bylaws of the county, the CBPAC, presented by Colin.
Okay, so for the bylaws item, you have in your packet, there's not slides today, but you've seen this a number of times in the months that preceded this. But just a high-level overview of the item that came before you a number of times. The bylaws update, this draft proposed, has been through legal review internally with staff and has attempted to address each of the comments and feedback from the committee. And so the draft before you today includes those comments addressed in addition to, if you recall, the proposed name change for the committee is going from Countywide Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee to Countywide Active Transportation Advisory Committee. And you'll notice, or you did notice when reviewing the packet, that the comments were addressed in terms of the membership, in terms of for example, the county having the ability to potentially nominate and appoint candidates from public health or sustainability and climate perspective, public works, engineering, planning, that can all be kind of coordinated within the county. The time change is another one I should highlight to remind us all that the proposed time is 10 a.m. So it would be similar fourth Mondays, but it would be 10 a.m. instead of 11 a.m. And happy to receive comments and questions.
Any member comments regarding the bylaws and the changes that we agreed to in the previous meetings?
When I joined this body, I came in with a lot of enthusiasm and wanting to change the world through this body. And as far as the authority that this body would have based on these bylaws, I think that it's giving too much. I would say that as far as the agenda setting, I would like to have some more from members to be able to propose and try to discuss items that we think are worth discussing. So that's one of the things that I noted. As far as my interpretation goes, this the agenda setting would not be done much through the body, but it would be more of a approve and continue to move on. And yeah, that's something that I would prefer to modify.
Just in general, you know, staff is responsible for developing all internal agendas. However, you know, we can work with the chair, staff can work with the chair to make sure that if there are agenda items from the committee that you know, that are requested by the committee to be, you know, before this committee, we can certainly work through the chair to do that. There also is a standing item on the agenda, I think called future agenda items, where that's, you know, an open opportunity for members to suggest items to the chair and to staff to come in front of the committee.
I'll just chime in really quickly. Upcoming subjects for discussion is the item after the item called other business information sharing.
Yeah, I've had I've seen a couple times requests to include topics that somehow, I don't know, they were not included afterwards. And I've requested myself through that or other channels, and it was not included. So that is something that I was frustrated about.
And to Colin and Jackie, can you clarify for other members as well if they're suggesting after the meeting, if they would like to suggest to bring something forward? Are you referencing that or in the meeting?
I'm sorry, could you please repeat?
In the meeting, you referenced that you would like to bring a subject forward,
Yeah,
and it was not included in the agenda?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and I will say you know, when we do get those suggestions, they don't always come right away. It depends on the item. If it's something we can bring right away, we try to, but a lot of times we have to either do research or get an outside, you know, expert or depending on what the topic is. But, you know, we like to be as responsive as we can on those items. So, yeah, if you can, Member Lannis, if you can either communicate with staff or the chair of the item that that is of concern or items of concern, we can work on that.
And Member Lannis, are you aware of who to email or who to reach out to?
I believe so. But rather, and beyond that, I would prefer that is in the bylaws. As in more participation from, or more clarification as to how exactly the agenda works, and more participation from the members and the chair and vice chair on the agenda setting, and a very clear process of how it works. Clear and transparent, I would say. And then maybe through that coordination, reasons as to why or why not some sort of feedback as to why or why not a certain item may be included or not, or pushed to a future agenda as maybe more research may be needed and whatnot. But more clarity around that.
And just to be clear, bylaws are more of a gate point of like a compliance or operational way. It's not an indirect or a specific way of handling a meeting or agenda items. And that comes with across the board. So just keep that in mind as well. Bylaws are just a a legal binding of outline on how meetings should go, members, votes. That is the purpose of bylaws. Bylaws are not a purpose of what goes on the agenda and what's not. So those specific comments are usually kept within a day-to-day transaction of how the meeting kind of transpires, not technically keep into that, because you can't tell what agenda item is going to take the longest or what is priority, what's not priority. So it's almost impossible to put that specification of comments on a bylaw. Correct. I think he was wanting to include that in the bylaws, and I was explaining to him a little breakdown. Okay.
It would be good to have the process articulated someplace, so that if members of the committee really want to talk about something, that there's somewhere, if it's not in the bylaws, then where could it be? You know, when future agenda items show up in the agenda, but how do those future items get determined?
And Colin did have and through myself, Colin did a presentation. I don't think, I'm not sure you were here during that breakdown, but Colin, would it be possible to agendize a better breakdown on how agendas and information is set forth, and how for our new members or members that were not here during the first two meetings of this?
Yeah, it's a possibility.
Okay, would that be sufficient for members? Would that be sufficient for you for another breakdown on how this would work?
Sure. I mean, would that just be a single breakdown, you know, one articulating it at one time, and then, I mean, if it's, you know, the beauty of bylaws, of course, is it's always there for reference. But if you articulate a process once verbally and then that's the end of it, then how do we know in the future how these things are determined?
And I digress that question towards the board. Thank you.
You know, in terms of whether we can add that language directly to the bylaws, that is a legal question that we would run past our legal counsel. So we can't tell you whether we can add that to the bylaws today. We can have that conversation. I think, you know, having a presentation outside of the bylaws may, I think as people are suggesting, may be something that we could do, and maybe have it as a standing item each year when we maybe elect our new officers. We have a reminder on how the agenda is put together and how items make their way onto the agenda. We could certainly do that annually, just as a reminder.
I'm just wondering whether it's, because I can understand if each individual member comes up with an item they want to talk about, then, you know, the agenda could just be overloaded with stuff. But if there's a way of maybe, you know, posting a suggestion on a web page or something or other, and then other members of the committee could, you know, vote. Yes, I agree that would be a good one to include in the future. So it's not just individuals just overloading. But, you know, I'm not sure exactly how that process would work, but it's just something to maybe put some creative thought into.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, we would probably rely on the chair to kind of, you know, take that feedback from the members and distill it down into one or two requests a month or something, you know, or meeting. But there is an item in your packet, a standing item, that provides a list of those items that have been suggested by members. So we are tracking that. So I think it's just about talking to the chair and kind of prioritizing which items come forward and when.
And just, thank you. I have a question for Colin and Matt. When we have new CBPAC members, is there any kind of briefing or any kind of introductory information that's provided to CBPAC members? And if not, can we include in some kind of briefing or packet to new members, like the process for nominating items for a future CBPAC meeting?
Thank you, Vice Chair Sarmiento, for the question. Yes, so when there's a new member that onboards, the clerk to the committee does reach out, and they send them information on when the meeting occurs, including the bylaws, and then who the staff liaison is, if they have any questions or comments, that they can share that with the staff liaison and/or the clerk. So that's kind of the welcome process that we do right now.
Okay, so I was gonna thank you for that, for the response. But yeah, if we could possibly, include, as we discuss, adding, the process for adding future items on a future agenda, if there is a more detailed process, if that could be included in, this welcome packet. In addition to, what was suggested earlier, when we elect officers, kind of reminding, CBPAC members who, the process. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, members, for your comment.
This is Member Weeks, just a quick question. I just did the bylaws for our Transportation Advisory Committee in San Ramon, and there's a lot more language in there about the purpose, kind of what we were trying to accomplish as a Transportation Advisory Committee, in addition to just enacting the will of City Council and things like that. And so I don't know if there's a way to imbue our purpose with an aspirational principle that would be somewhat maybe Vision Zero focused, that shows that, like, let's say in a not too different from reality future, CCTA is evil. Let's say that suddenly happens. So if we don't want to rubber stamp things that we necessarily don't want to enact. So let's say CCTA decides that they want to do things that eliminate Vision Zero next year. I don't think that that's going to happen, but I don't know if there's a way to have a visionary or aspirational or focused principle that targets reducing severe injuries and fatalities. I know we have a Vision Zero working group, which is a different thing, but pedestrian and bicycle injuries and fatalities are a lot more severe often than vehicle fatalities when they do happen. And it would be nice to have some language in there. So see what you can do with that. Thanks.
Well, so, this is our third conversation on this, the bylaws. So we were hoping to get that feedback on things like that so we could adopt it today. However, it's certainly up to the members whether we go back one more time. But if there are, that's the direction we need.
So as the chair, I would suggest that we give the other members and the new members a time to, this is the time that if you have any suggestions that we would like to bring this forward so they can put this on, so the next meeting it will be adopted. Are we all agreeant? Okay. Thank you. So now we're moving on to any public speakers. For our public comment, Jackie, do we have any? No public comment. Thank you so much. So I think this motion would be to continue this to our next meeting with suggestions and comments. All the comments can be emailed to myself or Jackie or Colin. And that means write down all of your questions and your concerns, and they will filter through on what is normally included in bylaws and what can be done on a meeting-to-meeting basis, okay?
Just a question, is there an impact to delaying this?
Not necessarily. The one, I guess, the name wouldn't change yet, the time technically wouldn't change yet unless you wanted to make that decision today. We could kind of, but yeah, nothing that affects funding or anything like that.
Okay, now we will move on to our I'm sorry, we need a motion for continuing this item and keeping this in committee. I'll conduct a motion. Thank you. So we do have a first and a second, and Jackie, please call roll.
Member Byrne?
Yes.
Member Keeshan? Member Foster? Member Olson?
Aye.
Member Lanas?
Yes.
Member Price?
Yes.
Member Riley?
Yes.
Member LeBeau?
Aye.
Member Weeks?
Yes.
Member Wilson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Sarmiento?
Yes.
Chair Evans?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So we are now going to push this last bit with our last item along with our other business. Please keep in mind there is a meeting directly after hours. So let's be a little bit more respectful to the meeting that is following us. Thank you. Moving to our checklist compliance and metropolitan transportation of Commission Resolution number 4493 presented by Mr. S.M. Secklin. And I apologize if I did not pronounce that correctly. And Mr. Secklin, would 15 minutes be sufficient? Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is S.M. Shakline. I'm a senior civil engineer with City of Pittsburgh Public Works Department. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present today. I will be presenting Delta Dianza Multimodal Trail Safety Improvement Project. Today's presentation, I'll briefly go over the project overview, our community outreach effort, and finally the complete street checklist. The overall project location map is shown here. The project is located along the Delta Dianza Trail. The project is safety and operational enhancement within the trail segment in City of Pittsburgh and Bay Point. The trail is generally follows the East Bay Municipal Utility District aqueduct line. And more in detail, the project location, starting with in the Bay Point, which under Contra Costa County, Mariners Cove Drive, and as you go further east, the limits of the project stop just past the City of Pittsburgh Gladstone Drive. So there are approximately 8.5 miles of the trail segments within the project limits, 4 miles within the Bay Point, and 4.5 miles within the City of Pittsburgh. The background of the project, the overall goal of this project is to improve access and safer trail crossings. City of Pittsburgh is the lead agency, will be undertaking this project, and other entities involvement including Contra Costa County for the trail segment within the Bay Point, and also East Bay Regional Park District, and also East Bay Municipal Utilities District, because of the majority of the right-of-way is owned by East Bay MUD, and including other funding entity, including Contra Costa Transportation Authority, MTC, and Caltrans. The existing, the trail is heavily used by bicyclists, hikers, commuters, and other purposes. The project is anticipated to CEQA Class 1, the categorical exemptions. Because of the federal funding, the project will also have needs to be completed, the NEPA clearance as well. The overall project budget is just over $5 million. The project funding includes one Bay Area grant, the Cycle 3, and other local funds, including City of Pittsburgh redevelopment funds that was originally authorized to East Bay Regional Park, and those funds are reallocated to City of Pittsburgh to use of this project. The improvements within the Bay Point, the Contra Costa County will share 11.47 local match any improvements within their jurisdiction. The timeline of the project, it's anticipated to take 2 years from the planning, design, and construction. The schedules are shown here are estimated only, subject to change, including funding approval. The community outreach. We have conducted community outreach, including social media posts and reaching out to bicycle and pedestrian advisory groups, including Bike East Bay. We have conducted a community workshop in Pittsburgh Senior Center. We also did a presentation with Bay Point Municipal Advisory Council as well. And those surveys are open to general publics that including City of Pittsburgh and Bay Point residents, and also other groups as well. Now moving on to the Complete Street Checklist. This project helps to implement Pittsburgh Bay Point Community-Based Transportation Plan, which was adopted in December 2020. Also, Pittsburgh Moves Active Transportation Plan, which was adopted in February 2021. Both of these plan calls for safety and comfort along Delta De Anza Trail. Next topic, active transportation network and equity. The segment of the project area crosses through the active transportation network as well as the equity priority community. So this project will help implementing the active transportation measures in the equity priority community. This project is on a known high injury network based on 2008 to 2017 statewide traffic collision data. CCTA developed a high injury network, and this project crosses several high injury networks, including Railroad Avenue, West Leland Road, and also Bailey Road. This project improvements will help implementing the county's vision-wide zero policy. Based on the feedback we have received so far, the design will be finalized, and some of the design elements will be considered, including rectangular rapid flashing beacon, wayfinding sign, trail safety lighting, specifically on the intersection safety lighting, green bike lane markings, raised crosswalk, high visibility crosswalk bulb outs, along with the other safety measures. This is just an example for illustration purposes only. This one of the location is shown here is in the City of Pittsburgh, Crestview Drive. It shows the existing conditions, and this is just an preliminary, not the final design, conceptual layout of doing improvements to the existing trail crossings. And finally, City of Pittsburgh is presenting the Complete Street Checklist on this meeting today for your review. And I'm happy to answer any questions or take any comments you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cyclin. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Now we move to committee members on the comments. Member.
They were talking about the Iron Horse Trail, trying to go for the dual lane approach. Are you looking into that? Is that something that's on your agenda as well?
You mean the
Pedestrian separated from bikes and e-bikes?
The main focus of this project is the safer trail crossing. So we'll be looking into intersections, but we are also constrained by the total amount of funding or amount of budgets we have, and we have so many crossings. So we'll evaluate what the community is saying and which areas they want us to prioritize, and the project will be scaled back within the budgets that we have.
Okay, yeah, I mean, even at the crossing level, it'd be, you can have the lights for the bikes and the pedestrians kind of separated out. And I think, I mean, my whole thing is with all these trails is we need to start thinking that way, just because the e-bikes aren't going to go away. And we just, like if you go to Amsterdam, they actually have kind of different lighting systems and things like that to kind of regulate the different traffic. Just wondering if that's under consideration.
So far, the improvements that we originally was obviously looking for, installing the rectangular rapid flashing beacons, raised crosswalks. So, but certainly, your comments that we could look into it. But what I can tell you, based on the budget's constraint that we have, like especially the signal integration.
Just get the signal and the crosswalk.
Yeah, so it would be, may not be, practical with this scope of this project, but yeah, your comments are well taken.
How you doing? Thank you for the presentation. I'm wondering at the crossings, will they be using high visibility paint?
Yes.
Which is pretty cheap.
Yeah, so like some of the trail crossings is, there's already some, because we've been making improvements, over the years, and anywhere that doesn't have the high visibility crossing within that, project limits, yes, we'll consider installing the high visibility crosswalks.
I mean, the paint.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just means that, even during a rainy, dark night, at least it will be illuminated when somebody is using the trails at night.
Yes.
Thank you for your comment. We'll go to Steve.
Just trying to understand what the destinations along the route are. There's a BART station or nearby. It's not on. I'm not seeing it on the map of the.
So in this map, the Pittsburgh Center Station is on the Railroad Avenue.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, oops, I'm sorry. And also on the Bay Point sides, you could see the location of the BART.
It's on Bailey Road.
Yeah.
Or, yeah. I'll point to it right there. Yeah.
So it's still off the route here, but is this going to be an effective way of getting to some of the major destinations like are there feeders from this trail down to things like the BART stations?
Yeah, so obviously the goal of this project to improve and also encourage the active transportation. So this trail serves community parks, school, especially the Los Mineros College. So yeah, so goal is to improve the active transportation and encourage people to take bike, walk, and close the gap as much as we can.
Okay, so this is really a spine for mobility that can still provide, other routes off of it.
And I'm sorry, Member Steve, we are on the time, so your 2 minutes is up. We do have to move to the next member comment.
Actually, thank you. I just had a quick comment, but I do want to respond to Steve's question. So at the Pittsburgh Bay Point Station, the a segment of the Delta D'Anza Trail is just east of the Pittsburgh Bay Point Station, and then BART is currently working on adding I guess it's an intersection to the west of it. BART is in the process of installing a separated bike facility to the BART station. So it would connect with the Delta D'Anza Trail and the Pittsburgh Bay Point Station. So just want to mention that. But then quick question for just wondering who at the county you've been.
So I've been coordinating with Jeff.
Okay, Jeff. Okay, that's good. Okay, just want to confirm.
And then, so on April 20th, both County Board of Supervisors and also City of Pittsburgh Council authorized a memorandum of understanding between city and county for cost sharing and implementing this project.
Okay, thank you. And actually, I do have one other question. Have you, whether it's through Jeff or have you outreach or engage with the Bay Point MAC on this item?
Yeah, so we already presented to the Bay Point Municipal Advisory Council and this project, and also seek feedback from that committee.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair. Do we have any other member comment that has not spoken? Thank you, Deanna. Jackie, are we moving? Thinking about Deanna, are we moving to public comment? Do we have any virtual hands raised?
No public comment.
Thank you so much. This is informational only, so we'll move to other business. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
We'll move to other business information sharing. Are there any members that would like to share? Once again, you do have your 2 minutes.
Is this the right spot to give an update about Bike to Wherever Day?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So Bike to Wherever Day was last Thursday, and at least from my perspective in West County, others can talk about their perspectives in their subregions. We had our first time breaking 4 digits counting bicyclists since the beginning of the pandemic, since 2020. So it's really, really encouraging, a lot of great participation. It was beautiful weather out. We also had more stations than we've ever had, at least in my experience of, a decade or so of participating in the event. We had 15 stations, and we had a station in every city this year. So a lot of times, the cities of Pinole and Hercules had been not had stations, but this year we had stations in both of those. So yeah, it was a great event. And also, just to say that this Friday, WCTAC will be honoring Contra Costa County's Bicycle Champion of the Year, who is a West County resident. She's a Richmond resident, so that's why WCTAC is also honoring her. Maria Downhill Diva, who, if you've been on a group ride in the East Bay, you've probably seen her because she's at a lot, most of them. So, yeah, we'll be doing that.
Thank you so much. That was really well. 4 digits for a bike word. That's great. Any other member comment? Updates? Okay, the last agenda item was upcoming subjects and for discussion, and this is when you are discussing any future items. Any members?
I'll mention that the topic that I wanted to bring up, and right now honestly there's so much development that I'm not sure, but I would like to discuss e-bikes and e-mobility devices a little bit more in some way, shape, or form, because I would like to see that discussed in a positive note and bring light to that issue rather than jurisdictions starting to work on things like banning them independently, and see what can we do from from this body.
Any other member comments?
I would agree with Donnie about that, that there's just a lot of articles, you know, in the popular press and the New York Times and whatever, that kind of like, you know, bunch everything together, e-motos plus e-bikes, and, you know, it hasn't really moved the conversation constructively forward unless we get a lot more precise in our language about these mobility modes. So I think that would probably be a good idea to have a discussion about that. Thank you.
Okay, well, I have jotted that down, and I think Jackie has as well. And we will, we also in the email she'll be sending out. You can also send other questions, concerns for future agendized items. If you want to elaborate as well, Steve, and other member, if you would like to elaborate, you can as well in the email.
Just an observation, it seems like this part of the meeting is to solicit feedback or things that would need to be discussed. Sounds like it's probably it's part of the standard operating procedure. So don't we already have a mechanism in place that agenda items could be tabled and discussed?
Yes, that's what Colin stated earlier.
So what we could have voted for today could have been resolved because we actually have a mechanism where people can give feedback and put an agenda item on a future meeting.
That is correct. I think our member Steve, and I think they had other issues and suggestions as far as the bylaws, not just that subject in general. So I want to make sure everybody clarifies that, and then Jackie and Colin and I can go back and reiterate some things that are already there, highlight them, and go from there.
Okay, I was just pointing out that.
Absolutely, thank you.
We absolutely, I think, have some sort of feedback mechanism built in as established by the current bylaws, right? Or the bylaws.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other member updates? Okay, we have now made it to adjournment. Jackie, we did it. You guys are double booked. We're out of here. So this meeting is adjourned at 12:59.
Recording.